I believe the reason the sun exists is so we can see how close we can fly to it. And we're going to do that today with what I'm going to call an all the chocolate sourdough. Let's have at it. So I'm starting off here with some filtered water, and I have 320 grams, and that is going to be 64% on the baker's percentage based on the flour. Now to that, I'm going to be adding a chocolate pudding snack. This is a 200 gram snack, which is 40% of the baker's percentage here. I'm just going to go ahead and spoon all of that in there. And then I'm going to mix it in. And the reason I'm doing this is just so that it's really nicely incorporated right off the bat before we add our other dry ingredients here. Just like so. Now to that, I'm going to be adding 1.8% fine sea salt. There's going to be 50 grams or 10% of just golden brown sugar. Our second chocolate addition here is cocoa. It's 50 grams, which is 10%. And then our flour, I'm going with just a white, all-purpose, unbleached flour, and it's 500 grams of that. Dump that in. And mix by hand here for a second, just so that we can go with the autolyse. Okay, and here we are, all nicely mixed up. So I'm going to get this off my hands into the bowl, cover it up with some plastic, and let it sit until my leaven is ready. So for this bread, I'm going to be putting in 125 grams. Ooh, a little bit more than 125 there. And that's going to be 25% of the, for the baker's percentage. Alrighty, there we go. So now I'm just going to moisten my hands with some filtered water here. And I'm going to go ahead and mix this all in. It'll take me a couple of minutes. The nice thing about you having this really dark chocolatey bread is that you can tell when the leaven is all mixed in because you don't see any more of it. It's all blended in. All right, there we are. 2 minutes later, that is all nicely incorporated. I will mention that this had an hour autolyse before the leaven was ready to add in. So there we go. I'm going to cover it back up with some plastic and give it 30 minutes. So after that 30 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and just perform a quick stretch and fold on this dough here. It's a little firm, but that's okay. And then I'm going to cover this back up. Oh, the dishwasher is gurgling away. I'm just going to go ahead, cover this up, and give it another 30 minutes, and we'll come back. So after that half hour, it is now time to get the next phase of chocolate into this bread. And I'm going to do that via a lamination. So in order for that to happen, I need to stretch this out. It'll take a minute or two here just to get this into a nice flat mat, ready to receive the chocolate. Okay, so that's as good as it's going to get. Now what I've got here, steps 3 and 4 of chocolate. I've got 100 grams each of some white chocolate chips and some milk chocolate chips. And I've just got them all blended together here. And I'm going to get them into this dough. I'm going to fold over, kind of pat down. This is a really great way to get extra stuff and goodness into your bread and keep it relatively locked within it as opposed to leaking out later on. Because if I had mixed it in with the dough initially, there would have been a bunch of it that was sort of on the outside of the bread. Do that, and whoo, a bunch of it right there. Awesome. And fold over, pat down, and I'm just going to moisten my hands one more time here and just kind of fold this over a little bit just to kind of contain some of that chocolate there that's at the seams. Okay, good enough for now. I'm going to plunk this back into the bowl, cover it up, and give it another 30 minutes. After that 30 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and do sort of what I like to refer to as a modified coil fold. So it's not quite stretchy enough with all those chips in there to do a proper coil fold. So I'm just picking it up and actually just coiling it around on my own rather than allowing gravity to do the work for me. Just doing that a few times, rounding it off and plunking it back in. I'm going to do probably 2 more of these and then we're ready for the next step. So just about 2.5 hours after my 3rd coil fold, again with 30 minutes in between those, I am ready to do a little pre-shape on this loaf. Go ahead, pop it out. Got a couple of little chips left there. Well, it's firm. It's definitely going to keep its shape because it's loaded up with all of those chocolate chips. That's awesome. I'm just going to grab, I have a second loaf here as well. So here's the second loaf. I did this one at a slightly higher hydration. This was at 70% hydration as opposed to 64. This one was definitely more of a hassle to work with because it was quite a bit stickier, but I wanted to do that to see what the finished product might look like as in comparison to this one. Okay, so I just gave these a couple of minutes rest here. They don't need any more than that. They're not really changing shape. I'm just going to take some rice flour here, sprinkle both of the tops with that, and get them into some lined bannetons here. Just like that. Going to make sure I know which one is which. I'm going to get them covered up and in the fridge overnight. All right, so the next day, so I've got both of my breads out of the fridge here. I have my higher hydration one and then the regular one here. I'm just going to go ahead and cover them both up. Ooh, pop out nicely. Lots of rice flour on there, that's perfect. Really simple scoring pattern across them. And I think because that's going to hold its shape really nicely, just quickly do the second one here as well. Got the chips in the way, and let's get them in the oven. Trying to bake 3 loaves at the same time. It's always nice and complicated. So I have the cast iron and everything, the oven preheating at 500 degrees here for an hour. I'll get my 3rd loaf in there in a second. I'm going to turn the heat down to 430 degrees and give it 35 minutes. After that 35 minutes, I'm going to pop these out. Woo! Like that. And then I'm going to remove them from the cast iron so that they can just rest right on the grate, which will help reduce possible scorching on the bottom. And then we're going to reduce the temperature down to 420 degrees and give them another 20 minutes or so. After 20 minutes at 420, I am pulling these out. We're going to let them cool down. All right. Who's excited to try some chocolate bread?
Me!
All the chocolate bread. Let's slice in here. Ooh, watch out. Don't want to bonk you with the old knife. So this is the one that I was showing in the video the whole time, the 64% hydration bread. And look at that, girls. What do you think? Smells like so much chocolate, hey?
Yeah, only chocolate.
Fantastic. We can't slice into the other one because that was actually a gift for a friend, so we couldn't cut into it and then give it to them. That would be a little rude. So anyway, let's go ahead and slice into this and give it a taste. All right, taste testers. What do you think? How is it?
Amazing.
What's it?
It's nothing amazing.
She can't even talk properly because her mouth is full. Is this a big win?
Yes.
We take it to 11?
Uh-huh.
Chocolate! Everybody say chocolate.
Chocolate!